Hey everyone, Tin Man here, and Season 1 of Dota Underlords has brought with it 3 new alliances, and I've got you covered on everything that you need to know about them. Let's get right to it with the Summoners. There are 6 Summoner units, but you only need 2 or 4 to activate their alliance. When active, allied summon units will gain 20% bonus attack damage if you have 2 Summoners, or 40% bonus attack damage if you have the full 4 Summoners. When it says summoned units, it basically means anything that does not start the round on your board. So this includes the summons that each of these units create with their abilities, but it also counts Spiderlings from the Insect Alliance, counts the Eidolons from the Primordials when they die, and even the Companion or the Golem or the Enthralled Demon that a Nesix creates. This often makes a Nesix the Underlord of choice for summoner builds. In terms of unit strength, I would say that Arc Warden, Lycan, and Lone Druid are definitely the stronger summoners at the moment. They all hit pretty hard and have strong secondary alliances like Savage and Druid in the case of Lone Druid and Lycan. The Primordial Alliance from Arc Warden isn't quite as strong, but it does play into the summoner theme since it creates summoned units whenever Arc Warden and his clones die, so it's a passable unit. The other summoners, though, are a touch weaker. Venomancer is good if you want scaled, but he's pretty lackluster otherwise. Nature's Prophet has the Druid Alliance, which is very valuable, but his summoned Treant is a little bit weak. Shadow Shaman's Mass Serpent Wards look cool, but they do feel a little bit weak, especially for a 3-cost unit who you generally expect a little bit more out of. The Troll Alliance is typically very valuable, but there's not really another troll to pair up with Shadow Shaman that neatly fits into this style of build, which will limit his usefulness and your ability to activate that alliance. As for the strategy, obviously summoners want to be summoning lots of units, so they'll often be the focal point, the kind of primary synergy in a build, with all of your other units and choices made to play into that strength. Most of the summoners are pretty squishy. Only really Lone Druid and Lycan want to be up on the front line. Everyone else wants to be staying in the back and do their summoning in peace. This means that you will want strong defensive alliances to stand in front of them to give units like Venomancer or Arc Warden the time to build up their mana and cast a few times. This alliance is best when you are already ahead, meaning that you have more upgraded units than most opponents and you're at a higher level, so that you're not getting overrun before you have time to make a lot of summons. If you're already getting overrun, then summoners don't really help you stabilize as much as some other alliances or other units in the game. And finally, they are a little bit weak to AoE effects. Unlike the long-lost Summoning Stone item, rest in peace, which granted bonus HP to summoned units, the Summoner Alliance only increases damage output, meaning that AoE effects, in particular from mages, can absolutely wreck this style of build, clearing out all of your summons with 1 or 2 spell casts. If you're up against a lot of AoE magic effects, be sure to pick up the Scaled Alliance. In terms of alliance pairings, summoners go well with savages, since both Lone Druid and Lycan, 2 of the best summoners, are already savages, and so you'll often want to pick up even more. Same logic goes for Druid. With Lone Druid and Nature's Prophet, you generally just pick it up for free, but you may want to go up to the full 4 Druids. If you are using Arc Warden, then Io is a natural fit, giving both Primordial and Druid, and also giving you some summoned Eidolons to buff up with the summoners. We can't forget that you often need some sort of frontline, so if you are running a bunch of Druids, then Brutes with Treant Protector and Doom will fit right in. Here's an example build using Warriors instead for a frontline, with Tidehunter and Slarder to get scaled for some magic resistance. Our 4 summoners include the 3 strongest ones I mentioned before, plus Nature's Prophet to round out the Druid Alliance. Then we have our 4 savages, and Let's Go Crazy from Hobgen, our Underlord, to give bonus attack speed to really capitalize on that savage alliance. Of course, there are a lot of other ways that you can make a summoner's build. This is just one example to give you an idea of how all of it can fit together. Next up, we have the Vigilant Alliance. This alliance is all about focus fire. Whenever you have 2 Vigilant units, when an opponent casts a spell, your Vigilant units will immediately turn to attack that unit if it's within their range. But if you have the full 4 Vigilant units, then all of your units will try to focus down that one enemy whenever they've cast their spell. This is a pretty strong power in general because focused fire used to quickly eliminate a target is much more valuable than damage that is evenly spread out across all enemies. 3 of the 5 Vigilant units are Hunters, Drow Ranger, Wind Ranger, and Mirana, which basically means that you're always going to pick up at least 2 Vigilant in your Hunter builds. It is pretty hard to make it work otherwise. In Knights, for instance, you may want Luna, but then the other Vigilant options aren't really that appealing in Knights. And besides, Luna doesn't deal a lot of single target damage anyway. She's all about AoE, so honestly, the Vigilant Alliance seems a little bit wasted on her. Same idea with Templar Assassin. The other Vigilant units just don't fit that well into an Assassin-based build. While it may be okay to get Vigilant on Templar Assassin because she does deal some pretty good single target damage, unlike Luna, there's probably more impactful units or alliances for your Assassin build than Vigilant. If you are using Vigilant in Hunters, then make sure that they're stacked up together. This ensures that when an enemy unit casts, all of your Vigilant units are in range to actually focus fire down. They won't be spread out and only have half your Vigilant units within range, because then you're not really focus firing all that much. Plus, you kind of want to be stacked up near your Drow Ranger anyway for her Precision Aura bonus attack speed. This alliance is particularly effective against fast casting opponents, like Enno, who spams his Death Spin ability every few seconds, as well as other units who cast a lot of spells with a low cooldown, such as Bristleback, Batrider, Slarder, and Necrophos. In terms of alliance pairings, as mentioned before, it's pretty much always going to go with Hunters just by the nature of the units. You'll want to play at least 2 of them, but if you do go for all 3 Vigilant Hunters, then it makes sense to add in Templar Assassin later in the game to get all 4 Vigilant. She is individually more powerful than Luna, and is likely very accessible since you're not really looking to go up to 4 Vigilant units until the later stages of the game anyway, when you already have those levels and higher odds in the tier 4 units. Since Vigilant are all about focus fire physical damage, the Armor Shred from Heartless Alliance is a great addition to a Vigilant Hunter build. Pudge is likely the best option since he provides a tanky frontliner to keep enemies in place while you melt them from range. Here's an example build, and it's actually a combo build with our next alliance, Void. Here we have our 3 Vigilant Hunters plus Templar Assassin and some of her Void buddies. The ranged units are all stacked up around Drow Ranger, with Wind Ranger in the corner to maximize the damage from her Power Shot ability. Pudge is our tankiest unit, so he is most exposed on the center corner of our formation. Speaking of Void, they are the final alliance added in Season 1. This alliance is unlocked with 3 Void units, and when active, all of your units have a 40% chance to inflict bonus damage with every attack. This damage is 5% of your target's max HP as pure damage. It is incredibly effective against tanky units that are hard to bring down otherwise, because pure damage is of course not reduced by armor or other damage reduction effects. This alliance is much more of a mid to late game addition to your composition rather than the focal point of your build like some of the ones we just discussed. 3 of the 4 units in the alliance cost 4 or more, so they are simply not accessible in the early stages of the game. Because of that, it can slot into a variety of strategies and builds, because by the late game you have a little bit more flexibility in what you're going to add in. But it mostly benefits higher attack speed units, since they have more chances to trigger the bonus pure damage, and so you're going to be looking to include it in builds like that. Just like how Scaled is a strong counter to magic damage, Void is a strong counter to tanky opponents. If you're running up against a lot of warriors, knights, and especially brawny builds, then you should probably embrace the Void to take them down. It is the single best answer in the game to brawnies, since their whole alliance is about stacking maximum HP, and the bonus Void damage scales up based on your opponent's maximum HP. As for alliance pairings, the most natural combination is with Assassins, since 2 of the Void units are Assassins already, Faceless Void and Templar Assassin. It's not difficult at all to add in one of the other Voids once you already have these 2 for your Assassin build. Otherwise, Spirit builds are often looking to add in Void Spirit, so you may want to throw in a few more Voids in there as well. The alliance is particularly cool with Ember Spirit, who attacks everybody around him with his Sleight of Fist ability, and then each attack has a chance to trigger the Void Alliance. And finally, I actually really like Void with Hunters. Remember when I said that Void benefits high attack speed units the most? Well, Hunters have the highest attack speed in the game, and their alliance gives them even more bonus attacks. It can be hard to fit all of these units into the same build though, since there's no overlap between Hunters and Void, which is why Crown of Antlers is almost always required to make this build work out in terms of alliances, because you can make Templar Assassin into a Hunter using this new hat item. For an example build, here is probably a pretty typical assassin build. You have your 6 assassins with Templar and Faceless Void, and then you can use Enigma to round out the Void Alliance, and place him up front to soak up some damage from the enemy and quickly cast his powerful ability. That does it for all of the new alliances in Season 1 of Dota Underlords. I know I am excited to get into game and try these out in all kinds of new builds. Let me know which of these alliances you are most excited to try down in the comments below. Big thanks to all of my channel members. This channel is sponsored by its channel members and by viewers like you. So if you like this content and you want to help me continue making it, please do consider supporting me by clicking the join button down below or over on Patreon at patreon.com/tinman354. Extra special thanks to Lord tier channel member John Vise. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.